It was a moonlit sky, perfect weather to sleep. Still, Raphael thought he would have trouble falling asleep, but alas, he was soon sound asleep. And found himself in the strangest place. Everything seemed the same yet different. He knew he was asleep, yet felt perfectly awake. The trees, the flowers, they were all so strange, yet wonderful and beautiful at the same time. Including a tree which seemingly has vines as part of its branches. Was he dreaming, or was he awake and been transported elsewhere? At any rate, his goal now is to pass the test, and not merely get back to his bed. He started exploring, and checking out for clues. Eventually he saw footprints dried up on mud, or even rocks. The footprints lead inside a complex. The structure was like an entrance leading somewhere. Yet all he sees is the wall surrounding whatever was inside. The wall was uneven, and has edges. The wall was black, thick, and 10 feet high. Outside is a giant rock with such writing: "He who enters may never come out, he who does not enter may return in peace." Besides the giant rock is a knapsack. Raphael quickly understood that this is a choice. Choose to turn back, and he will wake up in bed. But he choose to continue. That means he must pass this test, a test that could mean his death. He must not be so hasty. Before entering, he must see what lies beyond. Climbing a tree that gives him a bird's eye view vantage point, he realized the entrance is to a maze. A maze that has an item in the center. A maze could be tricky. He thought of 2 ways to ensure success. First, he pick up many rocks and put them inside the knapsack. Then he took a sharp stone and use it to cut vines and start to fashion them into a long rope. He then tied several pieces of wood at the end to form a grappling hook. Then he memorized the twists and turns he needs to get to the center. After what must be hours or minutes, he cannot tell which, he got to the center. Inside the center was a brass ring. He put it inside his pocket, then start to turn back. But to his surprise, all the stones he left as markers were gone. The opening itself where he came from was gone. And the wall is no longer a wall, cliff-high rocks. Rendering his rope vine grappling hook useless. He knew it would not be so easy. If it was this easy, someone would have already passed the tests, and Isla would be married. So he should not despair, but instead should take heart and pass this test. The route back might be gone, but there appears new items inside the center of the maze. The place seems to have gotten bigger. It now has trees, including what he called the vine trees. The structure that held the brass ring was gone. Instead, he saw what might be a huge wooden cabinet, roughly 15 feet. On top of it was a misty opening. He knew without knowing why, should he be able to go up and through the misty opening, he would be able to get out. But reaching it was impossible. He can't fly. Looking further at the items around, there was also a body of water nearby. He could not see how deep the water runs, but he could not use it to swim to the misty opening. There was also a slope which reaches much higher than the misty opening, but there is no way he could jump from the slope to the misty opening. He reasoned that to reach that misty opening, the cabinet must be part of the test. The slope extends far, and one portion of it, he could reach the cabinet. He start to observe the cabinet more carefully. He walk up the portion of the slope besides it to look at the top of the cabinet, and surprised that there was a ring or handle on top of the cabinet. He straight away thought of the vine rope, which he could use to loop around the handle and turn the cabinet into some sort of a lift. The slope had a vertical rock shelf, but even if he were to tie it around the rock shelf, he could not pull up the cabinet, and certainly not with him outside. If he were to use the cabinet to go through the misty opening, he has to be inside. But what if the other end of the rope held something heavy, heavier than a cabinet with a man inside? And if that item could be thrown through something, such as the body of water, the cabinet would then become a lift indeed. On top of the slope there was a huge boulder that was poised between the slope and the edge, where it could roll straight into the body of water. He reasoned this could be the heavy item he is looking for. He started picking more vines from the tree, making his vine rope thicker. And he tied one end of the rope to the top of the cabinet. Then loop it over the top of a tree branch that were much higher than the others, the other end tied to the huge boulder on top of the slope, where if he rolled the boulder, it will slide straight into the body of water, thus lifting the cabinet straight into the air. The only problem was, he needs to be inside the cabinet to make this work. Now again he reasoned, the boulder looked like it was about to tip over. He cut more vines, and held a bunch of rocks together. At a higher portion of the slope. The rope was long and extended straight to his hand. When the time came, he stood near the cabinet. Then cut the rope that held the rocks, which rolled down from the higher portion of the slope straight to the boulder. Quickly he jumped inside the cabinet, and as the boulder fell into the body of water, the cabinet indeed went up like a lift. As it came even with the misty opening, and before the cabinet went up higher, he jumped through the misty opening and woke up in bed. Was it a dream? He checked his pocket to reveal a brass ring. He couldn't sleep anymore. He guarded the ring the whole night, worried that the ring would disappear, too excited due to completing a test. He presented the brass ring to the wizard, who said, "Well done, but 3 tests remember, you have passed but the first. Now let's eat, passing one of the 3 tests. You deserve a hearty meal." And a hearty meal indeed. In all of Raphael's life he had never eaten such a scrumptious feast. The food on the table was such a lot of which he had never tasted before. And yet, he has been to plenty of parties held by nobles. That night as he lay on the bed, he was no longer trying to fight off sleep. After all, he understands once he sleeps the test starts. But he was anxious, very anxious. He thought he could not sleep so easily, but once more, as soon as he lay on the bed, he fell immediately asleep. And he remembered the same question, was he asleep or was he transported to a different place? A different place indeed. This time the place was different from the first maze-like test. It was thick with strange trees and flowers, also the whole air has a foggy misty feel. The land was mostly made of marble steps, but the plants here seems to be only of 2 types. A tree without any fruit, or a shrub with a big red fruit. Growing thirsty, he wondered if he should crack the fruit open, and drink it of its juice. He observed and saw the place have a type animal, a strange golden monkey. These are small, as big as his hand, and no larger. They crack the fruit open with small rocks and drink at it. Figuring it is safe to drink it, Raphael cracked one fruit open, and drank at the juice of the fruit, which was delicious, unlike any juice he have ever drank. It was not sweet, yet cool and refreshing. He resumed his journey, and came upon a lion, or was it a tiger, a leopard? Strangely he could not tell what it was. All he knew was that it was a huge cat. He heard tale of a lion and tiger mating and creating a liger, not that this creature was a liger, but he decided to call it that. He stood and stared at the creature. For some reason, he knew this was part of the test. The liger spoke, a talking animal. An enchanted liger then. "Free me from this place, and I shall reward you." Strangely he did not notice that there was a cage around the creature. But there it was. The enchanted liger was huge, should he decide to free it. Once freed, it could kill him easily. He brought with him no weapons. His sword was not with him in this place or dream. And yet he could not leave. This was the second test. Once more he had a choice. To leave and wake up in bed, or to solve this puzzle, and pass the test. Is the creature dangerous? Should he free the enchanted liger? He instinctively knew. The test was of judgment. His decision to free or not to free the creature, would be the test. He could leave right now and wake up in bed, or stay and decide to free or not to free the enchanted liger. He paced to and fro. The creature roared, "What are you doing? Will you not free me?" In an even voice, Raphael said, "I am trying to decide whether or not I should free you. Now please stay quiet, I need to think and decide." Strangely, or perhaps not strange, the creature stayed quiet. While Raphael think. And he was thinking, the key thing is, the morality of the creature, was it good or bad? Will it be properly grateful or not once freed? But morality must not be the right thing to think. He could not know whether the creature is good or evil, and if a lion or tiger were to eat a human, one does not consider it evil. A mouse may think a cat evil or eating it. But a cat's nature is to hunt mice. But this was no ordinary creature. This was an enchanted liger. No creature could be like it. It is unique. And he needs to decide in a different way. He needs to decide based on the clues that are presented here. Raphael this moment decided that the wizard is strange but fair. There must be a way to pass the tests. All of the tests, or Isla would not bring him here in the first place. And there must be a way to determine if the creature is benign or not based on the clues that are present. Observing the creature again, the creature was inside a huge cage that is made of gold. Another strange thing, he did not notice that the cage was made of gold, or perhaps it turned to gold while he was thinking. And there beside it was a key. A key to open the cage. But the problem was never about opening the cage, freeing the enchanted creature was easy. Deciding whether to do so was not. Then he noticed that things in the cage, besides the enchanted creature, was the shells of fruit of this place, they were crack open. This was the only edible stuff inside. The cage no bones or blood or anything. He decided this must mean this creature does not eat meat, according to the rules of this enchanted place, so he will probably be safe to free it. This would still be a risk, but this is what it meant, passing these tests, this is not risk-free. But he will pass or fail the tests, based on ability to judge situations correctly. So he picked up the key, and opened the cage. The enchanted liger spoke again, "You freed me, and as I said I will reward you." He spitted out a silver ring. Raphael said his thanks, pocketed the silver ring, and woke up. Quickly he checked his pocket, there was the ring. It was morning, and straight away he presented the ring to the wizard. "You passed the second test, none have ever passed even the first test, you deserve a feast." A feast it was indeed. In all his life Raphael had never imagined such venison, such scrumptious treats. Surely kings must gaze upon these meals, and feel a pauper. And as Raphael had his fill, he wondered what sort of feast he will be treated to should he pass the third test. That night as Raphael fell once more under the spell of his bed, he was transported to a strange but wonderful place. The moon in the sky was bright and full. Its image cast so clearly on the sea. He was on a beach, or on an island. The test, what was the test? He saw a bottle washed ashore, inside was a note. Written on the note, it says get to the moon, and find the gold ring, and you would pass the third test. At this Raphael felt a rage, all was for nothing. The wizard who he thought was fair, did not play fair, there was no way to get to the moon. There was no ship of any sort, no magical wings to aid him fly. He cannot reach the moon, and he felt despair. He did not know how many hours passed, but he began to recollect his childhood. While his thoughts wander, he remembered a game he used to play. In that game, the key to win was not giving up. Remembering how he used to win, he forced himself to get up and reread the note from the bottle. There was more words beyond what he read. Should you feel the quest is impossible, simply turn back the other way, say 3 times that you wish to turn back and the test would end. So forfeiting the test is so simple, just utter the words, "I want to turn back 3 times." Succeeding impossible. But he would pass this test. He moved around, and tried everything. There was no trees or slopes to climb. No items to use. He knew not how much time had passed, but there was nothing he could use to reach the moon. He sit down despondent, not wanting to quit, yet there was no way forward. He look at the note again, utter the words, "Do I want to turn back?" No, angrily he put the paper back in the bottle, and threw it as far away as he could. Slowly or maybe all at once, he no longer knew what words he need to utter, to turn back. Nor does he care. He only wanted to complete the quest, the test. Looking across the sea, he gazed intently at the reflection of the moon. And he remembered, that to pass the test he need to retrieve from the moon the golden ring. He reconsidered every option, there was no other way. And he considered his first test, surely that was a test of raw intelligence, the ability to solve problems. The second test would be of judgment, and perhaps even compassion. What was being tested on this third test? How much he loved Isla. Acting on impulse, he jumped into the sea, and started to swim. He would reach the moon, or drown trying. He swam and he swam, he kept going, he knew not how long he swam, intellectually he knew he should have drowned a long time ago. But this was a dream. A test. Does one drown in dreams? He kept going, and he looked up toward the moon. It was as far away, as he started. And yet the reflection seemed much nearer. It seemed so near he could reach out and touch the reflection. With a burst of energy he swam harder toward the reflection, and suddenly things grew hazy. He was back in his bed. The bed, the tests. His third test. Fumbling at his pocket, he saw the golden ring. Royalty-free stock photo ID.